David Martin, MMA Fighting, here with former bantamweight champion. She makes her return to action on November 20th in a main event against Ketlen Vieira. Welcome back today, Miesha Tate. Miesha, how are you?
I'm fantastic. I just had USADA stop by. So I got a poke in my right arm, dry blood tests, and also donated some urine. So they should be happy. But, I'm not surprised because I've been posting photos of me lean and mean and ready to fight. So I knew they were going to show up.
when they say random testing, they really do mean random testing, right?
Man, my last camp, I must have got tested like 17 times. So they finally relaxed a little bit. They probably realized like, okay, she's clean, but I knew it was coming. I knew it was coming this camp because it's been over a month. I was like, they got it. I know they're coming. I know they are. So I was actually on my way to get my pregnancy test done for my medicals. And I was like, oh, just go back and do USADA really quick because I knew I had this interview. And here we are. I made it. I'm on time, right?
I love it. I appreciate it. You actually said, I know you posted on Instagram, you look like you are in phenomenal shape. I know you said you are in phenomenal shape. You feel better than ever. What do you feel like is the difference? Is it just you're hitting all cylinders right now? Is there a difference in terms of what you're training? I mean, you've never been out of shape, Miesha, let's be honest, but right. It seems like you're kind of hitting a new cylinder right now.
Yeah, I am hitting new cylinders. I'm hitting cylinders I didn't even know existed. I went from a V4 to a V6 to a V8. I don't even want to know what's going to happen for the next camp. But basically, the big difference is I have a better support system now in my personal life. And also I've paired up with Training Lab. And it's Coach Sam Calvita, who puts these very comprehensive training programs together for me. So he's in charge of my strength and conditioning, but it's more than just that. A lot of times athletes have strength and conditioning coaches, but those coaches aren't really aware of what else you're doing, so it's like you go to wrestling practice and wrestling coach wants to kill you, and then you go to strength and conditioning wants to murder you. And then you go to boxing and they want to murder you. And everybody just wants to make their workout the hardest. And pretty soon you start digging yourself a hole. And anyways, in a nutshell, this is so much more comprehensive. There's communication that goes on between all of my coaches to make sure that everything's balanced. We check my HRV. There's actually science and shit that goes into this as opposed to my first time around. It was like a lot of guesswork. We didn't know what the heck we were doing. Also, the PI has been wonderful. Just, I was able to hit my DEXA scan the other day. So it kind of told me my lean body mass versus my fat mass and how my body composition has changed since I signed my fight in April versus Marion. So seeing those physical changes and knowing that working with Training Lab and Coach Cal has changed my body in ways that I couldn't even think were possible. So, it's diet, it's nutrition, it's coaching. I got to give a big shout out to Rick Little too, because there's coaches who are in the box, right? Who want you to be fundamentally sound and safe and do all these things the right way. And then there's coaches who are a little outside the box. Rick is very outside the box. And I really enjoy that because he allows me to be me. He might say like, Miesha, if your hand's in this position, here's what will be risky, as opposed to put your hand here. It's like, I've been trying for 6 months to put my hand where you've been telling me this, coach, but it's not working. So what can we do about it? Like his approach is completely different. And he just made me a much better athlete. He's helped connect my feet to my hips, to my core, to my shoulders, to my head. And I used to be that typical wrestler that'd go out there and brawl and just push my punches and just try to get into the clinch. I am not that fighter anymore. I am not that person anymore. I'm in much better hands, and the team that's built everything around me is so much more comprehensive and has really given me the tools to actually use the best skill set that I have.
You've you've been at or near the top of the sport for so much of your career, but to think about all the different levels you're talking about you're hitting right now after coming back from retirement, like when you fought Marion Renault, your performance was amazing. It was an incredible performance, because everyone had questions. How's she going to look after coming back from 4 years away? Because you never know. I mean, it's just reality. Time off, can take something away from you. When you kind of look at the phases of your career, when you look at Strikeforce being a champion, you look at UFC and being a champion, and now back now, like, I know it's a generic question, but in reality, do you feel like this is truly the best you've ever been?
Without question. There's not a single doubt in my mind, not a cell in my body that doesn't believe that this is the best version of Miesha Tate. And I got through a lot of fights. I became a Strikeforce world champion. I became a UFC world champion for a couple reasons. One, because I'm very tough. It's just hard to put me away. I've got a sharp mind for this sport, and I will stay in fights. I don't give up. But there's so much more to that. And as this sport continues to evolve, I have to as well. But I didn't know that these tools even existed. Otherwise, I probably would have been a much more deadly fighter in the first part of my career. But, it's better late than never. I still think I have a lot of time to do a lot of damage in the sport and become a champion. And that's what my sights are set on. I got to start with November 20th. I got Ketlen Vieira in front of me. She's a tough opponent. She's definitely a good step up in competition, a proper progression, I would say. But I'm excited to show everybody what I'm talking about. I still feel like people don't quite believe in the value of what I did with Marion Renault. When that fight opened up, the betting odds, even when I was coming out, we were close. Like, people were not sure who was going to win that fight. And I dominated the fight. I finished a woman who had never been finished. Marion Renault doesn't get finished. She loses split decisions throughout her entire career. All her losses are extremely close. She had finishes over Sarah McMahon, Jessica Andrade. She's a well-rounded, a tough opponent, but I think I dominated from bell to bell, and then I got to finish in the third round. People still, for some reason, don't know what that means because they can't comprehend that I could take 5 years off, have 2 children, and come back better than I've ever looked before. But that's exactly what's happened.
Yeah, I mean, as a person who's covered your career as long as I have, I was joking. I was actually talking to Roxanne Modafferi last night. We were talking about hook and shoot, and I was like, "Oh yeah, I used to go to hook and shoot shows because no one remembers hook and shoot. You fought in hook and shoot. You were around during those days, but." Watching you fight Marion Renault, I said, man, I was blown away. Like, I knew your dedication. I knew how hard you trained. I knew you were never going to step in there unless you were truly believing you were ready to go for the title again. But again, you still don't know. You still got to see it. And I watched the performances and man, like I said this that night, I said, this is the best Miesha's ever looked. I was like, this is crazy. You're not supposed to be able to do that. And that's what you did.
Right. And I think people are stuck on that. Like, you're not supposed to be able to do that. And it doesn't make sense unless you know what I'm doing. If you could see every single day, like, encourage people, like, go back to my YouTube channel and watch my trainings and my, what I'm trying to let you guys in a little bit more on what's going on in my life a little bit so that you can see the differences, because you're right. I always trained before. I trained like a mad woman. I trained like a crazy person, but I didn't know how to do it right. I didn't know how that you don't need to show up every training session and go balls to the wall until you're so broken down and then you're tired fight week and you don't peak. A lot of times we see fighters gas, so to speak, right? And people assume that they didn't train hard enough. A lot of times it's that they didn't rest hard enough, that they didn't give themselves the proper recuperation and they just kept drilling themselves into the ground because fighters are stupid tough. I've been stupid tough the majority of my career. Now I'm smart tough, and it's going to be a way better chapter.
Yeah. Now, with that being said, Miesha, I know this fight got delayed a few weeks because you got COVID. Now, it seemed like you bounced back really quick. Now, I know it's affected everyone differently. Vaccinated. Now, I'm not going to get into the whole conversation, but in terms of your health, like, you bounced back pretty quick. How did it even affect you? Was it just a matter you tested positive and it was kind of like asymptomatic? Like, how was it for you?
My experience was I definitely felt sick. The first week kind of sucked. I was really tired and I definitely got a deep chest cough. Like, it was definitely a chesty cough. I was coughing up phlegm. My lungs were under a little bit of stress for sure. And after that first week, I tried to go back and decide, I was trying to decide, can I still make it to this fight, or what does this mean? Right. How long will this last? And we've seen too with what Hamzat, wasn't it that he came back and was training too soon and was causing a lot of different damages? Am I right? Am I talking about the right fighter?
Yep, absolutely. Yep.
Yeah. So I didn't want to cause long-term effects by coming back too soon after COVID and kind of messing up my lungs when they were still not ready for that kind of, but I tried to hit my strength and conditioning workout in the progression that it would have needed to be on that fight. And I was at about 60% capability and capacity. I just couldn't get, couldn't get everything firing on all cylinders. And I knew that at that point it was probably not a good idea to take the fight October 16th. So I informed the UFC, and they were really cool and really understanding. It's just the times that we're in. And I mean, look at poor Cheyenne. Cheyenne Bay, she was supposed to be the co-main event on my fight card. She's quarantined right now, sick with COVID and out of the fight. So it's a bummer, but it's the reality of the world we're living in. I'm very thankful that we were able to postpone it only 4 weeks. And now I feel fantastic. I feel like I've had more time to prepare, and I think this was the best case scenario. Everything happens for a reason, and I'm doubling down on that for sure with this fight.
Absolutely. And Ketlen Vieira is a super tough opponent. She had, gone undefeated so much of her career. And, I know coming back, Miesha, because we talked right after you made the announcement you're coming back from retirement. And you said, and you very plainly, I'm going to get back to the title. That's my goal. And, obviously you'd love to get the rematch with Amanda, but we don't know. Of course, one of your closest friends is going to fight Amanda, in about a month's time. And I know you told me before, 100% you're rooting for Juliana to become champion. But my question is, Ketlen Vieira is a great next step. You go from Marion Renaud to Ketlen Vieira. It kind of makes sense when you look at the steps of the division. Can you give me a path? Like, I'm not looking past this fight, but can you give me the path you see to get Miesha Tate back to a title? Like, do you feel like you're 4 fights away, 3 fights away? Like, where is it in your head in terms of your path to the title?
I'm potentially 1 fight away. I could see an argument to be made if I go out. It depends on performance, right? I mean, we got a 5-round fight. Let's say I win via decision. I just don't think that makes as much of a statement as if I go out there and dominate, Ketlen Vieira, who is on the cusp of becoming the number 1 contender when she got upset by Irene Aldana, who's a, fantastic striker. But we have yet to see Ketlen be defeated by somebody who has a strong wrestling and grappling game. Right. We've only really seen her lose to primarily strikers. So that would be a first. And I think I go out there and have the performance I'm planning on having, that I'm going to shock the world again. And people are going to start saying, damn, she just beat, the number 7 ranked woman. Like, she crushed her. It definitely puts me in that conversation. It could take 1 more fight. But it could also be because the way the rest of the division is right now, and the fact that Amanda has ruled it since I left, also makes it a little different in that I'm sort of fresh blood, right? We have the storyline. She's the one that took the title from me, but I'm reinvigorated and better than I've ever been. So I think that rematch makes, it's exciting, right? I don't know. I mean, you tell me. I mean, you follow the sport really good too. If I go out there and let's say I get a 1st round, 2nd round finish over Ketlen and I look phenomenal. I mean, who do you think could make a competitive case? I'm not saying there aren't cases for other women in the division, but we lost Aspen Ladd. Irene is possibly somebody up there who could be in the conversation. She lost to Holly. Holly's already had the title shot, sort of recent. She got knocked out. I don't know. So other than Julie, who's already getting the title shot, I definitely think she's the one that deserves it right now. But I think I have at least an equal standing against any other woman in the division. Granted, I get that win. Would you agree?
I would. I think, again, Amanda, credit to Amanda. She's been so dominant, that, the options are limited. I mean, Juliana deserves it where she's at. And we can't deny. I mean, if you go out and dominate, beat Ketlen Vieira, why not? I mean, it's a rematch. 5 years that we're 5 years in the making. You've come back. You look dominant. You look better than ever. And who else is Amanda going to fight? Like, it's kind of a combination of pieces, right? It's like the perfect puzzle kind of coming together.
Right. And I mean, of course, there is Jermaine, right? We can make an argument for her. But
she's lost to Amanda. I mean, she's lost to her twice now.
That's what I mean. So, and then what the most exciting thing that seems to be the thing that everyone wants to talk about is Amanda versus Valentina again. And I would like to see that fight again too. I'm not going to lie, but that's kind of almost depressing when it's that your biggest competition is outside of your division. So I want to be the one to say, like, your biggest competition is right here at 135, fight me. So yeah. I've got a big job. November 20th. You're not taking Ketlen light whatsoever. I think she has a pretty well-rounded game. She also has I think she's a black belt in judo. I'm not sure, but maybe black belt in jiu-jitsu too. I'm also not sure of that, but I know she's like high level. She's accredited. And she's aggressive on her feet. So yeah, I think it's a really good fight for me. I think I'm going to surprise a lot of people again.
And I think, again, we can't deny the fact that beyond wins and losses, and wins, of course, matter most, but Miesha, you're still one of the biggest names in the sport. And we know a fight against you and Amanda. And again, I don't want to look past Juliana. I don't want to make it seem like I'm, moving her out of the equation. I'm just playing with who is the current champion. We can't deny that you and Amanda in a rematch would be a massive, massive fight. I mean, yes, based on your credentials alone, you would earn it. But I'm saying, like, in terms of what people would tune in to watch, buy pay-per-views, we can't lie and say that doesn't matter in this day and age. It does. And there'd be a lot of people who would like to see you and Amanda again. We can't lie about that.
Yeah. And you know how this business works. I mean, I can't even use the word deserve because I just don't even know what that doesn't even make any sense when we use the word, deserve in our sport. It's not even so much about that, but I know I've put in the work for a lot of years. I'm a former champion. I defeated a woman. I finished a woman who had never been finished. I'm going to go out there November 20th. I'm going to shock the world again, and I'm going to make a case. And if the UFC likes my case, if the glove fits, if the storyline rides, then, I'll be there.
I hope it happens. I love it. And Miesha, thank you as always for taking the time. I know you're incredibly busy. I listen to you on Sirius, and you have like your pod. You do the thing with you do your podcast, your radio show, your YouTube channel. I don't know how you find time beyond being a parent, also of course being a mother and a wife and everything. So I don't know how you find the time, but I appreciate you making a little bit for me because I really don't know how you find the time to do anything in your life because you are literally one of the busiest people I know.
Very busy. I'm always on my toes, running around, chasing kids. It makes the weight loss very easy. I don't even have to cut weight hardly anymore. But no, all jokes aside, I just got to give a lot of love and a big shout out to my partner, Johnny, and my mother. Without them, they are the dynamic duo that makes everything else possible for me. So when I was getting, stuck by USADA and my blood drawn, Johnny's like, what can I do? What can I set up for you so that your interview, like right when you get done with this, you can go, so he's setting up my ring light. He's got, the phone set up, like everything's ready to go for me. Like that's the team that I'm talking about. They do all the things. They don't get enough credit for that behind the scenes. And mom has lunch ready for me. So they just make it easy for me to cruise through the day, to hit all the things that I need to do. Right after this, I'm going to jam out and get my pregnancy test done and my COVID test, right, for fight week preparations. And they're the ones with the glue holding everything else together. As a matter of fact, I hear my son awake upstairs. My mom's up there with him. So if it wasn't for that team and that support system and, beyond that, my coaches, training lab, Rick, Giff, all those people, it wouldn't be possible. So I'm very blessed. I'm in a great position. And that's something that's also very different this time around than I would say it was the first time around.
Yeah. You know what they say, it takes a nation. And it sounds like you have a great team around you and that's going to make all the difference, right?
Absolutely. You said it. You hit the nail on the head.
Miesha, thank you as always for the time. Best of luck in the fight next weekend. Cannot wait to see you back in action and look forward to catching up with you again in the near future. Okay.
Absolutely. Thanks, Damon.